My name is Nathaniel Osgood. It's my great pleasure to be with you today to introduce you to a very quick example showing how to create a jar file, a Java archive file from a set of class files. In order to motivate this example, I'm just going to give a little example here about we're going to be compiling some Java code from the command line. Here's a bit of Java code, and it's going to depend on some external jars. And I'm going to compile it here. In the process of compilation, it's going to use the information in these jar files. And in so doing, it's going to output a set of files into this build folder specified with -d. There's a bunch of class files. And sometimes it's nice to be able to turn, rather than having those class files all put out there and having to distribute them and so on, it's much nicer to be able to turn them into a jar file. So in order to do that, what we can do, instead of needing to always refer to a build file with these class files, we could go into that build folder and we can use the jar command. Jar is a portmanteau of Java archive, and here we are going to use with options here, CVF. So this shares options with tar in this regard. We're going to create a jar file. We're going to do so verbosely, print out information, and we are going to specify the name of it. And the name of it is going to be conwayslife.jar. And what files are we going to bundle up into that Java archive, that jar file? All of our class files within this folder. Okay, so this is going to create, hence the C, this Conway's Game of Life.jar file. It's going to do so printing out some good information while it's running, and this just tells it, okay, that's the name of the file. Okay, so here we go. We're telling it to do this with this class file. And you'll notice that in the process of creating this jar, it's going and it's adding each of these class files. It's compressing them. It is part of that Java archive. It's actually squeezing them down so they could be a bit smaller collectively. And it's adding a manifest that tells it what's there. And if we go and we take a look, there's our jar file, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there's the file that that we created. Now, having done that, one of the benefits, so that's the basic essence of creating it. Having done that, we could then, for example, take that jar file and put it elsewhere. So we could move it, for example, from this build folder, and we could move it up to, say, this folder. Okay, so now we have all of our code, instead of only residing in builds and .class files, we have it as a jar file here. And now, when we go to run our code using the Java command, rather than needing to tell it to, for example, always look within our builds folder to find our main class, for example, we can instead just point it to this jar file. We already have one jar file there. We can tell it now, okay, just go find our code in this jar file. Not in the build folder anymore, but in this jar file. Okay, and so doing, it will go look for our class with the main method, which we've told it is Conway's Game of Life, within these jar files. It finds it in Conway's Game of Life, this Conway's Game of Life class, and it will call the main method there. This tells it where to find other code on which this main code depends. So, ladies and gentlemen, by creating this jar file, we can go transport it around. It's a single file. It's compressed, and all we have to do is point to it in our class path, and we can then use it when running our Java code. Okay. Previously, we would have accomplished a similar thing by pointing it to our build folder, and there, instead of using the jar, it would instead use the .class files. But by bundling them up into a separate jar file, separate jar file in our current folder, there it is, we are able to just refer to that jar file instead of build folder, and we can give it to others who could refer to this Conway's to this jar file just like they'd refer to other libraries. So we've succeeded through the jar command in the folder with all the class files. We've built the jar, right? We had cd into build and created that jar file. We can then pass it around, and we can refer to it on our class path in a way that allows us to run code from it very easily, or share it with others for them to call code in it. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this video was of use.